So I got this question about how I organize my spin materials. So I'm going to talk all about, and I'm going to show you exactly how I organize my splint material. Are you ready? So I'm a big fan of recycling and reusing, right? So I'm not always about going out and buying like fancy new things. I really like to recycle and reuse, saves on the environment. So one of the things I do with my splint materials, when I order a box, so you'll see I order this big old hunkin' box, and normally I order my sheets in like a box, a sheet of 4, right? But even if you don't, they'll still send you a box something like this. And that's where I keep my splint material. So once you have a big sheet, I just have a big sheet of splint material here, and I'll keep my splint material in that box until it starts to get smaller and smaller. Now, normally I keep about 2 types of splint material. I order 2 types of sheets only. That's what I like to do. I really recommend not having, having 2 to pick from, no more than 3. To be honest, you start having like so many splint materials, it can get confusing in terms of which ones you want, and especially if you have a team, it can also make it difficult for people to make decisions and choices on which one they like to use. So I like to use Taylor Splint, you guys all know that. I like to use Orthofit, you guys all know that. And if you don't like those things, you can try to find something that's kind of similar, pick whichever you like. But I usually order 2 types of sheets only. And then the third type that I like to keep around, and it's actually been really new for me, is the Orthofit cast. But those are really the only ones that I have. Now I'll try a couple of things here and there, or really when I try, it's because when I order by mistake something, and then it's kind of easier to keep it than to return it. So that's the only reason why I might have like more than 2. But I have 2 staples, and I keep my sheets in boxes in which they came in. And I normally just keep it on the side of the table so that it's within easy reach. Once they start going into smaller pieces, like so for example, let's say you cut out a big square of Orthofit material, but you have this big chunk on the bottom and you have a square left over, then what I do is I tend to just organize them by shapes. You can also by size, because it's just easier for you to find. So in this box, instead of having them all in the bottom, which is kind of where I found them all, then it makes you think, oh, you don't have these pieces, and you think you have to, every time you make a splint, you have to cut something new, when in actuality, you had all these little sheets already cut out for you. One strategy I like to have is if you take students or have volunteers and you do a ton of orthoses, tons of splinting, you can actually have them pre-cut stuff for you. And a whole sheet, you cut it in half and then you cut them into rectangles based on what you do most often, right? Pretend that's going straight all the way down. Or if you do a lot of hand-based stuff, you might have them cut them into instead of half, you cut them into thirds and then cut them again into, I think, 4ths or 5ths, and then that way you end up with a bunch of squares. And then they're pre-cut for you. You don't have to order them pre-cut. When it comes to organization, it is not about the fancy boxes that you order. Now you can go ahead and order them, and if it helps you keep organized, and great. But really, to stay organized, I would recommend going through your stuff either once every 2 weeks or once a month and just organize them all. That way when you come to work and you have splints that come your way, you're organized and you won't feel so flustered like, oh my God, I have to cut like this big piece of material out, and you don't. You have this square, this square, this square, all of these, and then you have your smaller hand-based ones, right? And then you might have even smaller ones. Now for the finger splints or even smaller ones, you can keep them in boxes. So this is just a Tupperware box. I actually ordered this by mistake too. I was trying to do something, I ordered the wrong size. What can I tell you? I'm not really great when it comes to dimensions, but I like to go everything by a piece of paper. So if a piece of paper is an 8 by 10, that's the only one I know, 8 by 10, then this box is longer than 11, actually it's a 11 by 8, right? So it's probably a 5. Let's see, if this is 8, this is probably 6, right? It's probably 6 across probably 6 across and probably 14, something like that. But you can order it just based on your environment, your size. I've got this cabinet, and so with this cabinet, these can fit inside. They can fit either long ways or sideways. But the dimensions of your container just depends on what you got. But I like to get clear, and I do like something with a lid that keeps you organized. So if you're going through your stuff like every 2 weeks or once a month, then you can definitely keep all your scraps. So we keep our scraps in here, and you can clean them out, you can straighten them out, you can get rid of stuff that are really mangled. So I do a lot of practice here, and so that's one of the reasons why I keep so many scraps, because when I get students or volunteers and they want to mess around with a piece of material, or even with my own therapist, if you're just trying to practice cutting, scraps are the best pieces to use. Don't use like real big pieces. Splint material can be expensive. You know, with everything that's going on, price has gone up. You want to practice with little scraps. If you want to work on rounding your corners, cutting faster, practice with scraps. So I do tend to keep my scraps around because we do take students, and I do like to show my volunteers, you know, like how fun hand therapy really can be and how great occupational therapy is. So in here, I'll keep my scraps, and then I just try to keep them a little bit organized if I can. So I'll put this back, and then I'll show you what else I do. So remember, it's not always about buying new things. Sometimes I like to keep my stuff in containers I already have. So a patient of mine brought me this cute little basket filled with, I don't know what she filled it with. It was full of something. She just brought it. It was so cute. And once we used it, I said, oh my God, look at how cute this container is. Let me show you. Show you. So here in this container, I have I try not to keep scraps in here, but I have my tools. So I just like to keep my splinting scissors separate from my other scissors. And then I have, I don't know what this is. I have my hole puncher, my handy dandy hole puncher. And I have my box cutter. So these are my essentials. And then, I don't know, I got this when I was playing around with Orthofit stuff. And then of course I've got some tape measures. But pretty much this is my toolbox. I keep my other scissors somewhere else. And if I have scraps, leftover pieces of Velcro, they might end up here. I had gotten some brass fasteners for a splint I was making. I'm always looking and trying out different things. So I purchased some of these, and so, you know, somehow they ended up here. Then I have my box of rubber bands. So we have different rubber bands, and as I order them through, this is actually a little cardboard box from something I bought, but I will keep so these are like the smaller ones, and this is my Phoenix outriggers. So it's really important to keep these ones really in a place where you can find them. They're very expensive, these outrigger sets, so try not to lose the pieces and try not to lose the Allen wrench that goes with it. And it comes with the little finger cuffs. So here's the Allen wrench and thumb pieces that go with it. So when you get these sets, I'm a stickler on making sure that I keep them intact. This is another outrigger set that I purchased because I had someone that I was working on that I wanted to try something new with. And I do them, I'll use outriggers, but I also create my own outriggers. So that's for another time. But where I like to keep my stuff is in a little box. And I try to just make sure that I'm organized with where they are. That way I can find them. I remember when I was working in the hospital, we used to have these fancy boxes that had a bunch of drawers that came out, and so you could put little things in them. Those are really great if you have a lot of material. I just try not to keep a lot of material in my clinic just because it's you know, I find what I like to use and then I keep ordering that same thing. I don't want to have so many options, because when I was organizing that, all that stuff there in their clinic, I mean, it was like hundreds of dollars of stuff that no one used, turnbuckle things, outriggers, and it just adds up. And you know, if you're a hospital and you can throw away money like that, great. I'm a private clinic. I can't afford to just order a ton of crap that sits on my shelves unused. So if you're working in a private practice, just keep that in mind. Just keep a few things that you like to use, and then you can keep it organized in a small area. Like I said, I really do love clear plastic containers with lids, and the easier the lids come on and off, the better. And then of course I like to use my little reused little baskets or boxes, and it's all about making sure that they fit into your cubby space. So I'm going to show you the last thing, and that's my drawer here. I'm going to bring you a little closer. So I brought you a little closer, and here you're going to see this is just my cabinet, but you can organize it this way too. I try to order the things that come in boxes, but if they don't come in boxes, it's fine. These come in rolls, and they're kind of a pain in the ass because they don't stay. So I just keep them organized. I have my Velcro here, my hook, right? My hook is here, and then I have my loop. Loop is the soft one. So I keep 1 inch and then 2 inch. So 1 inch and 2 inch. And this I ordered by mistake. This was a strap. So again, it comes down to keep your choices low so it's easy. I have 2 types of strapping material. I like to use the hook one because it's more durable, it lasts longer. So you might make an orthosis for someone who is a little more rough and tumble, a lot more active, and you might need something like a loop to really just give them that stability, that hold, and that durability they need. Now my other strap that I use is the soft one. So these are my soft straps, right? Oh, let me see if I have a little piece of my soft strap. Yeah. So these are the soft straps that I use, and I'll keep 1 inch and 2 inch as well. But they're just 2 choices. But these are, they only come in beige, but they tend to be softer. So it might be for someone who's like post-surgical, that their skin is a little bit more sensitive, someone who's a little bit older that needs a little bit something softer, or you have someone who just wants something a little bit more neutral color, then that will be good. And this doesn't last as long. They'll wear down really fast, and so maybe someone who doesn't need it for like a really long time, it's kind of a short-term use. But I keep my strap materials here, and then I have my heat gun, and I have my moleskin. So I'm not a huge fan of padding. If you've watched my splinting stuff or seen examples of Orthosis 101, I really try to teach based on how can you make the splint comfortable so you don't need padding so much. So I've had this roll for like years because I rarely use it, but I do have it just in case. And it does come in handy. I'm not a big fan of those really big foamy pads, but you know, hey, if you have a patient population that you need foams for, then they're great. Again, I used to use them when I worked with the certain populations. Like when I was in the hospital, I liked a denser foam versus a really soft cushiony foam. It's just foams get kind of gross. You can't wash them. So I keep them there. And then, yeah, so these are how I try to keep it organized. It's just my shelving system allows me to do that. I like to keep my top surface clean and uncluttered, so I try not to have it out there. And then what else do I have? I have a box of random little stuff too. I have my, I'll show you. I have my LMBs. I have a few oval 8s in here that someone had given me, but I don't really use oval 8s because with oval 8s, it's a brand and they're pre-made and you have to have all the sizes and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, this is quick cast. Love my quick cast. So, and then my, yeah, that's it. Oh, my string. Where do I keep my string? I have another thing of string here. Try to keep it all in the same place, so it's easy to find. But this is my fishing line. So when I'm making dynamic orthoses, I have my fishing line. I have 10 pound and this 15 pound and then a 10 pound. So I've just, again, a fishing line you can buy one time. I forget how much this costs, but it's really inexpensive, but it'll last forever. So I usually don't have two types. I forgot why I have two types. I think I had someone who just needed a lot more support. So I wanted to get something a little thicker. But that's pretty much it. And look at me reusing this box. That's me, recycle and reuse. And I find them because they fit right into the nooks and crannies of my cabinet. But organization is about keeping it organized. Because when you go and you use stuff, things are gonna go out of place, and you just need a few minutes once a month to kind of organize and keep it all in check. And if a piece looks really gnarly, just throw it away. And we also, one of the things we do is we keep little samples when we make it, just because I do teach, so I keep little samples. But other than that, just don't keep them. Just throw stuff away if you can't really, use it. So, but just organization just takes a little bit of time once a month, and it takes compartments, little boxes or Tupperware containers with lids. Anything with lids are really good, but it's just about trying to maximize your space. I hope that helps.